Yeah, so hello everyone. Welcome to Multimodal Weekly. Those of you who are joining live, as well as folks who will be watching this uh, um, afterwards. So this is a weekly webinar series hosted by the Twelve Labs. We've been doing this on a weekly basis over the past 2+ years or so. And here are some of the topics that we then cover each week. We have a lot of like folks from the research community come and talk about broadly speaking, foundation models, multimodal AI, all the things that, has been driving Gen AI agenda over the past 2 years. We have developers and, partners, right, come and talk about innovative application of multimodals in different verticals. We have a, Discord community where oftentimes I ask members to share different projects around, visual understanding and multimodal in the webinar. And occasionally, when we have new release and launches, we have internal team members giving talks on tutorials and guides of using our platform and API. And here's some of the sample of some of the recent session of Multimodal Weeklies, mostly been focusing on the research stuff, right? Everything ranging from building world models to video generation, video captioning, test time scaling, etc. For today's session, we'll have a partner talk coming from one of our close partner, SuperAnnotate. And specifically, we'll explore how Twelve Labs and SuperAnnotate can work together to streamline the process of fine-tuning high-performing multimodal models. Specifically, we'll walk through a typical Twelve Labs fine-tuning workflow where SuperAnnotate can fit during that data labeling and evaluation process, how different teams can build custom annotation workflow in SuperAnnotate that output in the Twelve Labs fine-tuning format, as well as some real-world examples of multimodal use cases supported in SuperAnnotate, ranging from video-to-text caption generation and summary evaluation, to video segmentation, to multimodal agent scoring, where human reviewers can assess output reasonings or relevance. The presenters will be Adam Smith, who currently had a partnership with SuperAnnotate. He previously had a partnership at Jasper AI, and previously he was spending more than 16 years at Google, leading GTM partnerships for different enterprise product business, from Vertex AI to Google Cloud to Workspace Chromebooks. And we also have Vignesh and Adam, currently a partner solution engineer at SuperAnnotate, focusing on integrating their capabilities with partner environments to build GTM solution. He recently graduated from Carnegie Mellon with a master's degree, and prior to that, he was working as a solution architect at Dell, designing data center infrastructure solutions. So yeah, thanks for both speaker for preparing the materials today. For the attendees, feel free to send your question in Zoom chat, and then we'll have a short interactive Q&A after speaker finish. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen, and yeah, I think Adam, you can go ahead.
Thanks, James. Hey, everyone. Happy Friday. It's a pleasure to be participating in your Multimodal Weekly. I was on the Discord channel. A lot of great content there. I'm Adam Smith. I lead partnerships. Let me take you through like 10 minutes of slides here, get past the partner guy pitch and get you to Vignesh, who can show you the product. There's some cool stuff in the UI there. So just to kick off, again, a little bit of SuperAnnotate product, a little bit of our journey with 12 Labs and SuperAnnotate, and then a demo. Okay. Sorry, messed myself up. There we go. What can SuperAnnotate do for you? So as practitioners, as researchers, I think you're familiar with the struggles of getting AI to production. McKinsey says 90% don't make it out of experimentation. So at SuperAnnotate, we're focusing not only that your models make it to production, but they make it there faster, generating quality inference that you can trust, that your customers can trust. Good data yields good AI, but managing this data and involving human experts, it can be hard. For folks building and evaluating models, it can be hard to find one tool that can handle various data types, everything from text to video to audio. And many teams try and solve labeling on their own. We often see homegrown solutions or open source solutions or even spreadsheets to manage this growing task. And just as you'd standardize on an MLOps pipeline or an MLOps platform, a growing number of companies that are successful are standardizing on a AI data ops tool. So this is where SuperAnnotate plays. We want to bring these data science teams and subject matter experts into one place to increase the quality, simplify communication, and let these teams focus on building and give your data owners confidence in what you want to build. Again, all this helps you get your systems deployed faster. SuperAnnotate as a company has been around since 2019. We've got a groundswell of sort of practitioner usage and feedback. Plenty of reviews on G2 showing us as a leader. What is the product? Really, SuperAnnotate is at its basic human-in-loop software that is very flexible for any annotation task. It can be anything of any sort of data modality, and from the easiest to the most complex UI. So what comprises this product? There's really three components here, with a fourth for consolidating your service provider. So starting on the left, the build component, it's a custom interface, drag and drop UI for building this labeling interface in the annotation workflow. You can edit components and their relationships to one another. There's also a Python front end as well, where you can write code to interact with APIs for models in the loop, etc. The second component is for really people management and data access management. Very often you have multiple personas in a labeling workflow. You may only want to show certain components to a QA person versus an expert versus the data science team. Here you can manage these permissions, large-scale projects, and even the workforces. The third piece is orchestration. So this is where you're moving data within, around, and in and out of our platform. So here you can set up, pushing data back to your cloud storage, or pushing a work assignment to a certain individual based on some condition, or invoke models like our AI detector model, any kind of like data orchestration pipeline. And on this last piece here, if you're a large organization with multiple annotator pools, SuperAnnotate is the software that allows you to kind of consolidate these efforts into a single platform. Even running something like annotator screening tests for a given project to see which annotator pool might be a best fit for this project. Let me talk a bit about our journey with 12 Labs. So the SuperAnnotate 12 Labs partnership began by SuperAnnotate helping the 12 team build Marengo and models with high quality data. So our initial involvement helped the team reduce their model training cycles by half with a more efficient labeling workflow. SuperAnnotate continues to be part of the active learning loop for each 12 Labs model iteration. We're helping them evaluate and improve ongoing quality. And then we thought, let's kind of take a lot of the learnings and a lot of the same UI, and make it available to our mutual customers. Often customers aren't sure how to evaluate the quality of a model against their own data sets. So with SuperAnnotate, a customer can establish a human ground truth and decide whether they can get to production or need to fine-tune a Marengo model to fit their use cases. Should they want to fine-tune, then they can use SuperAnnotate to create these video data sets, align with the 12 Labs fine-tuning API. Essentially kind of pushing data out in a format that can get consumed right away by the fine-tuning API. So in this way, SuperAnnotate fits into both kind of like the data prep and the qualitative eval phases of a customer's 12 Labs model journey. This is a very high level sort of reference architecture here. It could be both kind of quality and this sort of like data curation piece. Without further ado, I think I'm going to let Vignesh show you some fun of the SuperAnnotate platform.
Thank you, Adam. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
All right, perfect. So I'm gonna talk a bit about the use case that we worked on 12 Labs with, and also how you can start to create data sets on our platform, on SuperAnnotate's platform, to start fine-tuning vision embedding models or any sort of vision language model that 12 Labs offers. So this is the first case that you will come across on our platform, is just to create like a test project. I'm going to give it a project name, and we can go ahead and start to see how a video segmentation project where you have data points like a start time, end time, and some classes assigned to it, and also a description of that particular segment of the video assigned. So these are kind of different data points that you would be able to generate. So we have some pre-built templates that you can start off of. So I'm going to use the video event annotation tool over here, and then we're going to build off of this. So I'm going to use the selected template and give you an overview of what it looks like to start building on SuperAnnotate. So you can see I have a component for a video URL. This would be our input, and this is our web component where or viewer where we show the video actually. And there is an interface for us to forward and move backwards with the videos and also add specific events on different timestamps of the video. So everything on this interface is basically created by dragging and dropping different components. So you have layout components, you have buttons to interact with different model endpoints like Adam was talking about, what kind of inputs you would need. For QA purposes, you would want voting or ratings and different media components that you want to incorporate here inside the interface that you want to build, like the custom annotation tool that you're building for dataset generations. So in this case, the media component that I've used is video, and I've created an event for every event. The data points that will be added is an event ID, a unique event ID for us to make sure that we can access it at any point of time, and some sort of classes that I would want to annotate in the video, a start time and end time, and also saving the annotation or canceling the annotation altogether. So now let's say for these events, you would want to add descriptions to each segment of the video you're trying to annotate. So I would simply drag and drop a text box over here. I would label it as description, and then I would just give it a unique ID. So how the value mapping for each component on our interface works is just like a key value pair, because our export would also be a JSON file. So you would just have to create different instances or different classes and then map them when you start analyzing or going through the output that you've generated. So now I've added a description for this particular event. Now I'm happy with my interface. This is what I want to go forward with. Or let's say I want to add more classes that I want to tag in the videos. So right now I've added classes that make sense to the pre-uploaded video that I have. But if you're adding a completely different video with respect to like some sort of a sports related video where you want to track players, then you would add player names, each player names, each movement, what kind of a sport you're playing with. You want to track defense, offense, and all of that. You can add clear classes for all of it, and then you can click on save. So once you're happy with the interface and everything, then you can click on next, and this is where it takes us to a test environment where the code is already populated for you. So in this case, every sort of interaction that is happening within the UI that you've built for your custom annotation tool, it's pre-populated code. So you can make changes to this particular code to make sure, hey, some components are hidden or some components are dependent on other components being answered or populated. So all sort of conditional event handling or conditional UI handling can be coded on this interface. So just to test it out, I'm going to select role. I'm going to put myself as the annotator, and I'm going to play the video. and then I'm going to pause it, and I want to add an event here. So once I click on add event, you can see that event ID is automatically generated. And then I'm going to give it a description, and I'm going to set a start time. So now what I wanted to show you here is how easy it would be to fix errors. So now I can see there is an error in line 318. You just go to the error, and I can see that, hey, I'm setting this particular value as a string and not a float. So I want to correct that. Then I'm going to click on run again and see if the error is gone. And once it's gone, then I can publish this particular event. So I'm going to try adding an event again, and there is a random description. And now you can see that I can add start time and end time, and I can save it. So once I do this, I figured out what's wrong with the code that had to be published, and I fixed it. Now I can go ahead and publish it and see how many items I want to generate. So I'm going to do just one. And once I publish it, this is the final UI that you've worked on so far. And this is what all your annotators are going to see. So in this case, this is how the finished product would look like. You can start adding events, start adding descriptions, set time, and all of it. And then also you can save annotations. This is how it's all going to work out at the end. And now you talk about integrating data points to the UI that you've created. So we have different integrations that you can use to get data in. So you can either upload links of the videos that you have through a JSON-L or like a CSV. And also you have the option of setting up specific integrations with AWS, GCP, and Azure, or any other cloud infrastructure provider that is out there. So you can set up these integrations and ingest data automatically in batches. So you wouldn't have to manually upload files with different video URLs once you set up the integration. So it's very easy to get data in. And when getting data out, let's say you've generated all the data points that you need for this particular run of the annotation workflow, and you want to trigger specific times of annotations being exported to your cloud infrastructure provider or any path that you want, then you can set up a pipeline with event-based triggers. So in this case, if I want to start the triggering of annotation export for an annotation export, once the project status is done, then I'm going to set an event which will define from in progress to completed. I want any custom action over here. So there are some default actions. So let's say I want to send an email to a person notifying that, hey, this project is complete. Then I can just set up an email ID. I'm going to set it to myself, and then I just trigger it. So every time the project status changes, I'm going to get an email saying, hey, it's been changed. The project has been completed, and I can then come in and take a look. Or you can also customize this action to make sure you write some custom code. So I'm going to show how to do that. So if you go to orchestrate, there are different actions. So here in this action, I'm going to click on create action. And I want to store all these annotations into S3. So we have some templatized versions of different cloud infrastructure providers that you can start using. And you will just have to store all of this in the environment, and so that you don't have to hard code the credentials that you want to provide. And it's masked for you. So once you do that, you can customize all of this code to massage the annotations to get only the metadata that you would need to start fine-tuning a model on 12 Labs, or any other endpoint that you would want to use to start the fine-tuning job. And you can set up specific timelines, time periods, like every hour, export the annotation, start a fine-tuning job. So you can code all of it here, and then you can automate that entire loop. And once you're done, then you go back to getting the data set again and start evaluating it, and then fine-tuning it further. So this is like an entire workflow that you can set up with SuperAnnotate and TwelveLabs to start fine-tuning your vision language model. So this is one of the video segmentation use cases. Now, I know we talked about multimodality. So I want to show you one more use case of where we are using LLM as judges to start evaluating question and response pairs. So This button will be used to generate responses for any prompt that we ask, and you can connect to any model endpoint that you want the responses to be generated from. So once you do generate the response, then you can run an eval with any judges or like LLM endpoints that you would want. Again, this would also be done through our orchestrate function. So this workflow was designed to see if 3 different LLM judges reach a consensus. If they do, everyone's saying response 1, then the item status is sent to completed. But in case there is a disagreement, then this is put into quality check, and that is where our expert in the loop comes in, and he or she will choose the final response and then give like a feedback based on, hey, I feel that response 1 is the best because of these criteria, and the other 2 were not good enough because of these criteria. So that's where the expert in the loop will come in and give his or her expertise on this particular data point. So there are multiple different use cases that you can think of with images, video, audio, text, any sort of modality, and different workflows that you can set up over here. So these are 2 of the use cases, and you saw the customizability of the platform. Now, if you track back to what Adam was talking about with respect to consolidation. So here you can see that we've invited a lot of people from different organizations to come in and work on these projects. So all you would have to do is invite that person, and you can give them role-based access control of what they want to do. So in terms of contributions, you can select which projects that they would contribute to, or like you can give them admin level access so that they can go and build out their own projects. So everything can be controlled at the most granular level to make sure there is utmost data governance and data security being taken care of. So the entire platform is built to make sure your workflow can be executed, and we can build the platform around the data points that you get in and not force fit the data that you get in into a fixed editor. Like we can customize the platform as much as possible to enable you to generate the data points for your fine-tuning workflow or evaluation workflow. Yeah, that's what I had for today. But I'm gonna stop now and would be happy to take any questions you all have.
Great. Well, thanks, Vignesh and Adam, for the presentation and the materials today. Really excited to see some of the annotation workflow that you demo on the second half of the talk, and I know this is definitely going to be something very important for us as we think about improving the model capabilities for different use cases. Yeah, so we have maybe we can have like 5 to 10 minutes of Q&A for this webinar session. Yeah, if you have for the attendees, you can have a question, feel free to either just put on the chat or you can just unmute and yeah, ask it live to the presenters. Maybe I can get started just to kick the balls off. So I think in terms of multimodal labeling, can you provide some high-level challenges of working with like image, video, audio from a data labeling perspective? How does that different? Let's say when you work only with text.
I can take that question. So when you work only with text, it's mostly evaluation workflows that we see. But when it's golden data set generation or like any sort of data set generation, the multimodality comes into play. That is where like with TwelveLabs, we're doing a lot of video data set generation with respect to videos for like vision embedding models and fine tuning of that. So if there is an image classification project happening somewhere, then we render like millions of images on our platform to enable annotators, QAs, and a lot of different people to come in and work on the platform and contribute to the same image, maybe with different bounding boxes and different annotations that they want to make and suggestions that they want to give. So with respect to audio, we have a lot of captioning use cases that we work on. So the use cases differ, and it's across all modalities of data that we work with.
Maybe another question about the fine tuning workflow. I think this is top of mind for not just us at TwelveLabs, but I think like generally speaking for a lot of foundation model company who want to get into like enterprise deployment, right? I think getting high quality fine tuning data to improve the base model is obviously um, a very strict requirement and maybe the important ask, right? Well, from let's say enterprise customer, from your experience working with different like vendors to support their fine tuning processes, what are some of the common bottleneck, right, challenges from a technical side, but maybe also from the operational side of getting high quality fine tuning data?
Yeah, I think the most common bottleneck is identifying the right people to come and work on generating that golden data set that you would need for a specific fine-tuning use case, and getting all of them to like collaborate on a single platform that offers flexibility in terms of being agile enough to iterate over different versions of the workflow. So, for example, you might be doing evaluation for generating data points for like fine tuning a model further, but you then decide in the middle of the project that, hey, this data point is not particularly helpful. I want to pivot. I want to start generating something else. We can help with pivoting very quickly because the customizability of our platform makes us that agile to make sure we constantly iterate and ideate with the team that we're working with in terms of fine tuning. But that's a very common use case that we see, is that you're not going to nail down the data points that you want to generate in the first try. You always have to ideate and iterate over different versions of the workflow to get to that final golden data set that's going to help you achieve that fine tuning efficiency. So that's one of the common pain points that we see that other platforms are not able to offer.
Yeah, for sure. You
Uh,
also no, go ahead.
no, I was just Adam, would you want to add anything on an operational side? Okay, all good.
You mentioned LLM as a judge, right? In on part of the demo, you envision we also have the same sort of competitive, no, the same thing like the same UI for let's say vision language model.
Yeah, for sure. So if I understand the question correctly, you're asking if we can use LLM as a judge or like as a jury for like vision language models and evaluate outputs. Is that what you're asking?
Um, well, yeah, maybe that's one part of the question. The other part is also like VOM as a judge, which is like maybe,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think, yeah, that's a very interesting use case. We haven't come across one right now, but uh, it depends on what kind of an input the VLM would take in and how it's going to go about evaluating and what we're evaluating. Because when it comes to text, it's a lot of prompt engineering involved in getting the specific evaluation metric that we would need. So I think testing it out with a VLM of what we would need to do to get the optimal judge efficiency from a VLM would be very interesting to work with and test it out with. That's an interesting use case though. And as long as it's like an endpoint, it's theoretically plausible to get started on our platform and working with it and getting more like idea of what kind of like data points we input to the VLM and what are we extracting and how efficient it is, it would be great to test out.
Mm. On that topic of evaluation, right? I know that yeah, I think that this kind of just falling on what your previous point. I mean, we have pretty common methods for LLM evals because of benchmarking leaderboard and like there are existing tools in the market out there that do this kind of stuff. But for say multimodal models, I haven't really seen like a tool for like evaluating VLMs. Maybe on image, but like at least from the video side, I haven't seen. Uh, just curious on just from your experience, like kind of doing evals, all this fine tuning stuff, right? From with SuperAnnotate. Have you seen any like interesting patterns around like building evaluation framework for for video language model?
With respect to a vision language model, I haven't come across like a specific evaluation framework yet, but I think someone just put it on the chat. That would be like a very interesting way of doing it, like comparing it to a human baseline and seeing for potential consensus. So a consensus workflow is something that we do implement with LLMs as of now. And then this would be very interesting to see what this baseline or like a benchmark for VLMs would be. So with LLMs, we did see a certain quality, like a percentage point of quality increase from just using LLMs as judges, but having a consensus workflow makes it more efficient of streamlining the data points of where there is a consensus. You can trust the three models that gave feedback on it. But if there isn't, then you get the expert and then improve the quality of the data point. So I think a very similar principle could apply to using VLMs as judges too.
Yeah, got it. And then just following up on that note, that is very much from a workflow technical explanation of how that process look like. From a like at least internally for us at TwelveLabs, getting evaluation metrics for real world use cases has been on the challenge because right, like there's not a lot of academic benchmark that really that really like have the high quality of like video data that really we can use for customer. And so even though we like can leverage some academic benchmark, I think we still have to do a lot of the evaluation ourselves by getting like real world data and building golden benchmark and metrics. And using tools like SuperAnnotate, for instance, to help support that workflow, right? Maybe just from your experience, working with like other folks or practitioner or customer who had to collect like real world metrics, what would be some of your suggestion or recommendation, to build out that like golden evaluation benchmark and metrics, real world data, right? So that like the model actually match the customer requirement, not just on some test set that being built from academic benchmark. Yep.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you brought it up because we are doing one such kind of a project right now. And what the client is trying to emulate right now is having different personas or asking annotators to assume different personas based off of their expertise level to come in and answer questions on a like a first person point of view so that we can use those feedbacks like natural language feedback as is, which is very authentic to what an actual customer would ask the model or the prompt that they would give to the model. And using those data points to start training the models for like, hey, if this is the sort of person asking a question and the difficulty level of the question is such, maybe this is how we need to tune the model further to make sure it considers the different difficulty or expertise levels of the people asking the question and answer it in such a way in a very curated manner that, hey, if someone says, I have only limited experience in Java, again, I'm talking with respect to an LLM, but the model should understand how to answer the question for a specific persona. So talking about real world feedback, that's like a great place to start, is assuming different personas and and generating data points for these different people or customer personas that you would come across in real life scenarios too.
Yeah, I see. I think for us is mostly gonna be around the video language model side of thing, right? I think especially video captioning, right? Like given I think in your demo you show as well, like that is more for the Marengo side on the description side as well. But like assuming like given the video and then labeling means that someone had to caption that video, provide like the say 3 sentences description about activities, what's happening in that video. And that 3 sentence description can be very different, right? From
Yeah.
one person to another, uh, depend on their biases and level of familiarity with the topic. And so I think like getting domain expert to can verify and to verify the quality of the caption description and like, provide a good annotation in this case is very, very important. Like for us, I think sport is the big use cases, and like just having like people who are familiar with the sport itself and again understanding different concepts specific and unique to football or baseball, soccer, etc. Those kind of thing is pretty important. I think that's kind of similar to what you mentioned about like say a software engineer who understand like a specific programming language who can like provide a syntax, right, for as a label for so that the LLM can learn from that and do code generation correctly during inference step, right?
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
I think we pretty much like run out of this the time it take for Q&A. Maybe we can close out by like just feature action. Maybe Adam, do you want to share any like interesting stuff going on with SuperAnnotate from product side, but also like the business side? What are you guys working on towards for the rest of the year? Any exciting like announcement, those kind of thing? Yeah, be curious to hear.
Yeah, thanks everyone for sitting through this. You can get a hold of either Vignesh or I at just first name at superannotate.com. Happy to collaborate. We're going to be at the Databricks Data and AI Summit in a big way. The whole company's going to be there. There's a lot of good AI activity, so we'll have a booth and a happy hour. And so if you're in the San Francisco Bay Area, it'd be good to meet you in person. On the product roadmap side, there's just a lot of work to continue to build more automation. Despite us approaching this kind of data labeling space from the human side, I think there's a goal within the product team to rely less and less on just the purely human aspects of it. So where we can increase automation through synthetic data or more judges or more sort of automation of making that pipeline move faster, I think you'll see that being the focus area for the SuperAnnotate product roadmap.
So great. Yeah, excited to see some of the features and continue the collaboration with the 12 side from the SuperAnnotate team. So yeah, the recording of this session should be available on YouTube probably in early next week, and I'll be sure to share that. And thanks everyone for making time to attend live today. Thanks Adam and Vignesh for preparing the slide and doing the demo. I really appreciate your time with tech, and yeah, enjoy your long, even in the US, enjoy your long Memorial Day weekend. Thanks everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.